Titans, the division is ours. I don't care what Houston did yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans? Maximus Titan fan here with another episode of Titans Fan Battle Podcast brought to you by Fan Battle Sports Network. With us today, we always have I have my co-host here, Tyler. Tyler, say what's up.
Yes, sir. What's up, y'all? Glad to have Courtlandt on the show finally, man. Finally get to meet the man that
sure.
heard so much about, so I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, and as you know, we've had this guy on a couple of times. We love to have him. Hopefully, he'll be on more. This is and y'all know him. It's Courtlandt Griffin.
Thanks, man. Thanks for finally being back on the show. I've been in the audience pretty much, kind of catching them here and there. So, man, here's to a good show. Like, let's rock.
All right, man. Yeah. So, obviously, first thing we want to talk about is the game recap. Biggest takeaways from the game for me was obviously what a lot of people are talking about is Malik didn't really take advantage of the opportunity that was given to him. And the running backs balled out, man. I mean, Tajay Spears busted off that 31-yard touchdown run, beautifully jumped over that dude. I love that. That was nice. He actually had an 8.1 yard average and touchdown. And then Julius Chestnut, another beautiful addition to the team that I like, busted off a 55-yard run and got down, I think, at the 1 or 2 yard line. Ended up running it in. But he finished with 7.5 yard average on 13 carries for 98 yards. I love that. For me, I just love that.
That's huge for a guy who I think was maybe on the bubble, right? That's huge because the thing about Julius Chestnut is it's like ever since he came onto the team, right? He kind of reminds me of Antonio Andrews, if any Titans fan remember Antonio Andrews, right? Undrafted guy, unheralded guy, had accolades at a small school, and then all of a sudden he comes to Tennessee and he kind of buys his time, right? He flashes in the preseason, flashes again in the preseason, plays some kick return from special teams, and then he becomes the starter by necessity. Becomes the starter and makes an imprint on that team. Gave us some good games, right? We beat Jacksonville on a Thursday night with him being the starting guy, and he ripped off some good runs. Not saying that Julius Chestnut is going to come in and be the starter, right? Don't clip me and say that. What I'm saying is what they on a team where running back, probably jumping the gun there. Running back number 1 and running back number 2 are solidified, right? 22 and 32, right? 54 ways to be great, right?
I love that.
It's solidified, right? Now you got Hassan Haskins, you had Jimmy Ward, that was kind of competing for that third running back spot. And now you add Julius Chestnut to that situation where he flashed last year. Hassan hasn't really, outside of a rushing touchdown, hasn't really done much outside of special teams since he's been with Tennessee, right? He also has the off-the-field thing going on, so we don't know what that's going to result in. And then Jimmy Ward was hurt in the first preseason game against Chicago, probably going to end up being cut right after this week. Yep. And then Julius Chestnut's the only one that's produced and also been healthy and available. So almost by law of attrition, right, that guy's going to make the roster. He's a guy that was on the bubble. He's probably going to make the roster. So I feel better having Julius Chestnut be my running back 3 behind Tajay and Derek than, nothing against Hassan. I think he's a very good. I had him as a highly, one of my kind of diamonds in the rough guys coming out of Michigan. He just hasn't panned out. And then the off the field thing is kind of hampering that. And then Jimmy Ward, a guy who was flashing during camp, unfortunately got hurt. Julius took advantage of his time and his snaps, which is what you want. You want a guy to take advantage of that, and he's done that.
Max knows I'm not a big Hassan Haskins guy, so to see Chestnut to just thrive in this preseason has made me so happy because of just watching Haskins in training camp. His feet look really slow, which to his credit, he's going behind Derrick Henry in all these reps. So it's not really fair to compare him to that because nobody is Derrick Henry. Right. But then you look at Tajay right behind him, and he's got quick feet. He's got lightning quick cuts, and he can get up the field. We don't need another power back. We have all the power back we need in one guy, the power back of the NFL, really the best power back since Jerome Bettis. So for Chestnut and Tajay to come in, and they're quick guys who can make quick cuts, and Chestnut's got some size on him too, even though he's a shorter guy. He's thick.
He's got some meat. Yeah.
So, and he can move. So that's the kind of guy I want, man. I mean, Haskins, he's a good special teams guy. So if we keep 4 running backs, I would imagine he's going to make the roster. I don't see us cutting Haskins unless something plays out with the legal situation that we don't know about. But I see him making the roster as a special teams guy, but I don't expect to see Hassan run the ball at all really this year.
And I can say this too. You said we don't need speed guys, and I get that, right? Crazy stat, right? I think it was 20.3 miles per hour for Tajay on his touchdown run, 23 miles per hour for Julius Chestnut on his speed, right? But then Julius also has some thump behind those pads. He's the combo guy, right? He's the guy that everyone thought Hassan Haskins was going to be, right? The combo guy, speed and power, right? We've got smash and dash, thunder and lightning, 54 ways to be great, however you want to call them, right? But then you got a guy who can come in on, let's say you need a guy to spell Derrick Henry on a first down, right? Or second down, 2nd and 5 or something like that. You got a guy who you can trot out there, and you don't know whether he's going to leak out the backfield or run it, right? Tajay's the same way, but let's say you're going against a super physical defense, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars, for example, you need a thumper. Tajay is not the guy that I kind of want running into the back of offensive linemen all game long. But Julius can take that thump, right? And he can also deliver that thump. And it's going to get really difficult for defenses to take on a three-headed monster. Yeah. It's really hard. Go ask the Patriots how hard it was to stop Ahmad Bradshaw, Ward, and Brandon Jacobs, right? Yeah. Go ask the NFL how hard it was to stop that three-headed monster that they have. That's what the Titans could have, right, with Derrick Henry, Tajay Spears, and Julius Chestnut, or whoever the third running back is that makes the roster.
Yeah, and no knock on Tajay. Y'all know, I mean, if y'all have watched, anybody that's watched my show knows I love Tajay Spears ever since I started watching his highlights. But dude needs to work on his NFL vision just a little bit more. So there's 2 different runs that I can call to mind in both the games, one in each game, where he missed a hole that would have given him major yardage. I mean, he ended up getting, I think, 8 yards in one of them and like 6 or 7 yards in the other. So he didn't do bad. It was just, if he would have hit that hole, it might have been a home run. You know what I mean? Both times. One
of those runs, and if it's the one that I think you're talking about, is when he ran into, I think he just ran up into the back of the guard, right? Pace number 40 on the Vikings filled the cutback lane. So as a running back, and even when I was in school, right, they taught us if your cutback lane is gone, put your head and your shoulder into your offensive guard or offensive tackle's ass, for lack of better terms, right, and make him move somebody. He did exactly what you're taught to do, right? He did fundamental running back. Hey, I'm small. I'm not going to go head up with that linebacker who's flooding the hole. I'm just going to run up between these two guys and make them feel me, and they're going to move somebody out of the way for me, right? I'd rather have 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right, and him run into the back of an offensive lineman than him to run head first into danger. Like, that is – I've seen that happen in the NFL, and it normally never ends well for the offensive player.
Well, the part I was going to bring up is Chestnut seems to have that natural NFL vision.
Oh,
he
yeah.
just and he's a little bit patient. I like that too. He's a patient runner. You can kind of see him pick his lane, and then he takes off, and he's just a one-cut guy. I like that. I just like him. Anyway, if we have time, we'll get to our roster prediction or my roster, whatever. Sure. Anybody else stand out in the offense for you? Because to be honest, in the offense for me, nobody really stood out other than that.
Ooh, I got 2 guys, but I'm gonna let you go first, Courtlandt.
Thomas Odukoya.
Yes, sir. There's one.
is a, I mean, for lack of better terms, man, the guy is a force when it comes to run blocking. If you look at both Tajay Spears and Julius Chestnut's runs, touchdown, or I should say not touchdown, almost touchdown, right, and touchdown runs, it's sprung off the back of number 89, right? And it's not just he's holding a guy up and he's shielding a guy. No, he's taking guys out of the picture. Like, whoever's lined up in front of that guy, he's completely wiping them out. This isn't Jeff Swain. This isn't Craig Stevens, who I loved. I'm not downing to Craig Stevens, but this dude literally, people talk about Darnell Washington in Pittsburgh, rightfully so, right? He's like another offensive tackle on the field as a tight end. But Odukoya, as a guy who came from the foreign, program that the NFL had going on, for him to come in and be this effective running as a run blocker, don't think Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly don't see that. Don't be surprised if he's your tight end 3 on the roster and he comes in to play the quote unquote Jeff Swain blocking tight end role, because that's what he does well. And here's the thing, he can also catch the ball, guys. He's also athletic, right? He's running downfield. You look at the tape. He's running downfield with guys. And I mean, for all of that it's worth, right? Another guy that kind of stuck out to me was the offensive tackle Murray. Yes. He just stuck out to me. Nothing came from his side, right? He's a big body. He's a shielder. Great hands. Had great hand placement, great hand technique, good kick step. Those 2 guys stuck out to me. And I know the offensive line, it's easy to lose those guys because they're not, the sexy picks and they're not getting the ball in their hands. But in preseason, looking at those 2, I was like, if that's what we have to look forward to, and those are our filling guys or our role-playing guys, I'm okay with that. Those 2 guys should make the roster.
Odukoya, is that how you say his name? Odukoya?
Thomas Odukoya.
Odukoya. Yeah. Okay. I've been confused on that since I first saw his name, but
you're going to hear Odukoya. You're going to hear Odukoya. It's Odukoya.
Well, we've heard about 5,000 pronunciations of Tua's name since he was a freshman in college.
Oh, man.
I thought he was a monster, man. And for us to have a tight end 2 in Wesco right now, I think that he could easily take over that spot, because I want Josh Wiley to succeed very badly. But if he can't, then at least we have another option to go with tight end 2, and somebody who's going to run block and be a monster run blocking too. If like you said, if he can catch 4 passes this season, he matches Wesco's career total in receptions. So, and that's through like 3 or 4 years now. So that guy, I'm really keeping an eye on him. But another guy I was really impressed with, and we kind of knew that he was going to be better, but Aaron Brewer at center, if you watch the Tajay touchdown run, he sprung that too. He sealed off the nose tackle. It was a 3rd string nose tackle. I'm not getting too excited here, but he sealed it off. He looks explosive at center. He had the bad snap, but other than that, that guy, he went crazy. So I'm expecting big things from him at center too. If we can get another good center right after Ben Jones, then we're truly blessed at that position, because that's not something that happens all the time.
Oh, for sure. He's a highly graded guy. He was a highly graded guy last year at center. So when he moved from left guard to center, his grade went way up. So I was expecting that from him. That's his natural position.
Yeah.
And even though it was a third string guy, he did that to some starting guys last year. So I mean, it's not new, right? He's not new to this, right? And I hate to use the cliche, he's not new to this, he's true to this, but he is. And he came back this year. You can tell he's in shape. He's also thicker, in the neck and the arm area, right? Like, he came back with the mindset of being the starter this year, not being a on the bubble roster guy or a backup. So I definitely like what I'm seeing from him as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about the interior line this year. The tackles are a question mark, no doubt. Left tackle, less of a question mark. The right tackle's like a question mark and 3 exclamation points because we got a lot of problems right there. But man, between Skoronski, Brewer, and Brunskill, dude, our interior line is looking solid. So
Big Ski had an A- grade.
That's
last week. He's had nothing less than a B+ grade.
Yeah,
his entire preseason. So if that is what we have to look forward to, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with that too. Yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll get somebody in there. If Hubbard doesn't produce, then I think they look to Murray or maybe Jalen Duncan at that spot. But I don't worry about that. I think it'll probably take a couple weeks into the season, as it usually does when you change your entire offensive line around.
Yeah.
But all right, we're on to the defense. And the defense is pretty easy for me because not a whole lot shined for me in the defense. The only thing that really shined for me in the defense was Caleb Murray. I mean, Caleb Murray had 2 sacks. He had a sack in the last game. I don't think we can ignore Caleb Murray anymore. I don't think you can let a guy like that who shows off that much talent and has a college record like that, even if it is not a Division I, who cares? When a guy shows up like that in the preseason, you can't let him hit the waiver wires, man. So I think he pretty much solidified his spot on the roster with that performance. But the other thing that stuck out to me was Rashad Weaver had a sack. I was happy with that because he didn't really have a great performance last week. But he didn't really do anything else, which kind of upset me because I wanted to see a little bit more from him. And the DBs, man, my gosh, my DBs, they are just – I mean, like, I don't know from pass play to pass play whether they're going to actually guard somebody or they're just going to get completely burned or intercept the ball. I mean, they just literally are all over the place. And I guess that's dependent on who's out there.
Yeah, but it's our second and third string that's out there right now. So it's not Kevin Byard in the starting squad that's going to be out there. These are all on the bubble guys. So I'm not expecting much, right? Like, if Justin Jefferson was out there, he probably would have went for 120 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I was going to bring up. Monty Rice, man. I mean,
absent for 2 weeks now. So
the lack of Monty Rice is very telling in the linebacker game. I think Dr. Gibby's pretty much taken over that spot.
Yep.
Neiman and Gibbons are probably going to be your linebacker 2 and 3.
I was going to say.
I will give a dark horse that I have to make the roster. Otis Reese IV, number 41, right? Safety convert almost had a pick, like, and not just like he broke on the ball. It was in his hands, like laid out ball in the diamond, right? And if he comes down with that, we're looking at flipping the field and you give your offense another chance. he's a new age, right? Like linebacker, right? I think he's like, I want to say he's like 6'2", 225, 230, right? Fleet-footed guy. Like I said, safety convert, played safety in college. Now he's converting down into the box, and he's played well. Good instincts. They like his speed. They like his vision, how he fills holes, and he's a thumper. So they like how he plays the game. And I think that play alone, like people think of those plays and like, oh, it's a one-off. But go look at the tape. Go look at that game on Thursday or Friday. I'm sorry, Saturday. Go back and look at that game, and then look at number 41 and where the ball is and where he is. Yep. He's normally somewhere around there. Another guy that stuck his nose in, he's been sticking his nose in, and I think he's going to be damn good for us is number 33, Eric Garrard.
I was going to say, Garrard, yeah.
He, on a 3rd and short, he stuck his nose in and made a play. Most guys are not. Most cornerbacks that are 5'8", 5'9", 180 something pounds are not sticking their nose in and hitting a guy who they were lauding. Right, the Vikings have been lauding their running back. Oh, he's got contact balance, speed to power. He's so thick. He's so hard to bring down. He got in there and stuck his head in there and thumped that guy. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can tell. And Mike probably said you play safety in a corner. When you're a smaller guy, right, you thump a running back. Sometimes you take the brunt of it. Sometimes you get some of that recoil. And he ended up on the ground, but he made the play, and I think that was big. And then he also showed his explosiveness in the return game. Now, he had the muff, which thank God didn't sting us, right? He picks it up. But the fact that he picked it up and was able to get 15 yards is amazing. Right, you don't see, and I haven't seen that since Pac-Man Jones was doing it, right? So drop a punt on purpose. It almost seems like on purpose, and picks it up and gets out of there. I will say this though, Trey Avery might not make the roster just because, and this is hyperbole and sarcasm. He might not make the roster because when your return man is screaming fire, fire. That means look at your feet and get out of the way. The ball is somewhere around you. Why did you see the ball and try to jump over it? That cost us a position. Come on, dude. And that's a Mike Vrabel. He's a stickler for those kind of things, right? Like, don't beat ourselves. Don't make the costly mistake. You made the costly mistake. Believe me, that is going in the black mark in the book, and they're going to evaluate that when they go to make these cuts.
I did notice right after that play, though, that Vrabel actually made a point to come over and talk to him and kind of gave him a pat. And it was like, I mean, because I feel like
he's going to make the roster. He's going to make the roster. Like Mike said, he's going to make the roster. Mm-hmm. I'm just being a jerk, right? It's just when I see those kind of plays, 2 weeks in a row, right? Yeah. Like I put it on Twitter. I posted it on Twitter first half. My first half takeaways was special teams has been sloppy. Right. And the special teams, it seems like the last 2 weeks, that was almost like the one thing, like when I don't know if you guys probably remember when we were going like 2-14, 5-11 back in the day, our special teams was almost perfect. Where it was like, it's the only thing on the team that's like you can look forward to, right? And now it seems like kicker has been an issue for us and both punts. And so it's just you want to see that be cleaned up. Because that's the one thing that you don't want to see is you're fielding a punt on the 10, your guy muffs it, and now the team that you probably could have had down and your team goes out and scores now is in striking distance. Yeah. So
I think how do you say his name? Garrard.
It's Garrard. It's spelled funny, but it's Garrard.
I think he makes the team as a special teams guy. Like, I don't think we're going to see him much on defense, but I mean, we know how Vrabel loves his special teams guy. Now we might, depending on injuries, he might be a guy that is a plug and play type of guy, but I think he's going to be a dog in special teams. He's going to get down there and not be scared to stick his nose in whatever. So that's what we need is somebody who's a ball hawk and trying to get down there and make a tackle. So I see him making it as a special teams guy. And I think Brian here, maybe there's only room for so many special teams guys, though.
They did waive A.J. Moore, who was brought in to be a special teams guy. So that could be how Marsh makes the roster, right? Like Marsh could, because he has played well. I just don't think he's going to be like a depth guy, right? Yeah. He's not going to be like a Joshua Kalu. He could be, right? He could be that guy. But we've seen guys like Dane Cruikshank, right? Josh Kalu, those guys make the roster and then kind of play some defensive and kind of grow into a defensive role, right? Or find a place on the defense. That's the one thing that Bruce, that Bowens and Frank do well is they find guys' roles on the team, right? You're not just there to be a body. They find your role and they play well in it. So he could Marsh. You could keep Marsh and Avery. Avery is definitely going to make the roster because he's played well, right? For us, we've seen him fill in. Of course, people say, oh, well, he couldn't guard AJ Brown. Half of the league can't guard AJ Brown. So I don't. Right, so I'm not expecting him to go out there and shut that guy down. What I am expecting him to do is play solid, like he has, and he has. He had an interception against Chicago. Didn't play horrible. I think he had like a 76 point something grade. If you like Pro Football Focus analytics, right? So he graded out as like a C+ coverage grade. So that's not bad.
Yeah, in my opinion, we keep Garrard, not Marsh.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
And some of these guys could make practice squad. Like, don't forget, we got 10 practice squad slots that we can fill with some of these names. So
anything else stand out on defense for you guys?
I don't know how we haven't talked about it yet, but Tierre Tart, man, unblockable. They couldn't block the guy. That man, he looks like he's on a mission this year.
He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid next year.
They kept him out there a little bit extra, I think, because of the whole practice thing or whatever. But so he got some plays against some seconds and some thirds.
Yeah,
you know,
even the first.
He's done it again. Another guy like Aaron Brewer has done it against starters. And the good thing about him is Naquan Jones. There's some guys that have made the roster that are probably not going to be on the team next year or this year. Right, like Naquan Jones is probably getting cut. Monty Rice is probably going to get cut. And we have approximately $125 million in cap space, which ranks us top 5. I want to say top 3 in the league next year. Mm-hmm. Believe me, Tierre Tart is going to get a cut of that if he plays well. Because he's played well he's played well, and that's from being an undrafted free agent, and it always seems like our interior defensive line. I don't know if you guys ever see trends. I kind of keep track of Titans trends. Running backs are always a thing for us, right? We always seem to find good running backs in the draft or, like whatever. And then interior defensive linemen, right? They're either like undrafted or like unheralded guys. Jarrell Casey, who's you can argue outside of Albert Haynesworth and a couple of other guys, is probably the most iconic Titans interior defensive lineman, right? Like he just screams Tennessee Titan to you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Number 99 was a 6th round draft pick out of USC. No one wanted him because he had little legs, right? Those pencil legs made him got him a lot of money paid. Okay, right? So Tierre Tart could be in that next in line, right? We got our franchise guy in Jeff. Every franchise guy needs that guy that's next to him to kind of help him out, and Tierre could be that guy. So I think he's going to get a cut of that. I could see him getting somewhere around $7.5, $8 million a year for 3 years.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be one of the most loving recipients of having Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Harold Landry, Arden Key, Rashad Weaver, hopefully Caleb Murphy. Man, really, our passer. If you remember, do you remember what 3 years ago when we couldn't buy a sack? We couldn't have done a GoFundMe to get a sack in Tennessee. And now all of a sudden, like we have one of the best pass rushes, if not the best in the NFL. Yep. Man, we need health because this defense is nasty.
Tyler, do you remember, and I'm pretty sure Max remembers, you guys remember when we had Kyle Vanden Bosch, Travis LeBoy, you name it. Like it was like, who were these guys, right? We had Kevin Vickerson, right? And Jarrell Casey was like still a young guy in the league, right? You had all of these guys, and it was like, where does the pressure come from, right? Yeah. Travis LeBoy's in the backfield. Cal Vanden Bosch is in the backfield, and then Jarrell Casey's in the backfield, and it's like the pressure comes from everywhere. Then you had Stephen Tillich and Coleman McCarthy, right, rushing up the middle. They rush up the middle. That's what this defense is kind of reminiscent of, right? But they're better, right?
Yeah.
Like Harold Landry is better than those. I'm not gonna say he's better than Kyle Vanden Bosch yet.
Yeah, Vanden Bosch was a dog.
He's on the way.
He's a legend.
Definitely on the way. He's on the way. But Danico Autry, Big Jeff, right, rushing from the interior. Then they also can move around. Then you got Weaver, who yes, he had a quiet preseason, but they're also Bowen is also not running the stunts and the flashes that he normally runs in the regular season, where these guys' athleticism and strength is going to flash. So can't wait to see it. I love the fact that our front four and front seven as a whole can get pressure from anywhere. It's going to be fun to watch him. And Caleb Murphy is a guy that I'm waiting to see, because if he can pan out, right, as at least a supplemental pass rusher.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. You got an entire new line that comes in. A new front five right there.
Like back in the early 2000s, where we had two starting defensive lines that you could shuffle in and then like literally
keep everybody fresh.
Schwartz would like put like our starting defensive front out there, and then you'll see 5 guys run off the field, and five more guys run on the field, and then like you see the offensive linemen like Like, Jesus Christ, we've been going up against these guys for 30 minutes. We got to go up against like another set. Like, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. One thing, Max, I did want to touch on with the secondary, though. We kind of saw them really bow up whenever the Vikings got down the field. And that's something we've seen repeating for the last 2 years. Not as much 2 years ago, but last year. We had a really bend, don't break attitude on defense. We kind of go with the attitude that field goals aren't going to beat us. So, I mean, if we give up 5 field goals in a game and we score 3 touchdowns, I'll take it. You know, like, I mean, I'm good with that. You can get 700 yards for all I care. If you get 15 points out of it, have fun with it. We're going to win. So, especially with the offense this year revamped, hopefully, if our wide receivers can just get in some bubble wrap. Man.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
All right, man. So special teams. Not a whole lot to talk about, you know. Trey Wolf hit his lone field goal of 22 yards. Not very impressive.
I think this is shit excellent job to lose.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's a lesser two evils.
Yeah.
I have a theory, and I'll get into that later. But Karis Jackson, I know Tyler has a kind of like I do with Colton Dowell. He does with Karis Jackson. And Karis Jackson had an amazing kickoff return for his first return. I loved it. It looked good. He hit the hole fast, had decent blocking, and got a good return out of it. The second one, not so much.
Yeah.
And then he kind of got hurt, which is
they both got hurt on him and Kyle Phillips both got hurt on punt returns. So it's
a thing, you know, and that's why I like Eric Garrard so much, because he is making a name for himself on special teams as a punt returner. His punt return last week, his average yardage was close. I mean, he had 2 kickoff returns. Kyle Phillips had a 17-yard return. Everybody was talking about it. So did Garrard.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about that.
I'm just in the vein of not trotting Kyle out there for, like, I'm sorry, like, he's your starting slot receiver, and I understand he's not out there. He's not going to be out there for a bunch of snaps, right? He's not going to get, like, 90% of the snaps like Traylon and DeAndre are. But in the preseason where guys are trying to make the roster, I don't like the fact that he was out there.
I honestly think Vrabel was testing the waters, A, with his health, and B, with can he catch the ball? Because he had some issues with that last year. Of course, both I think were a cause and effect of each other. You know what I mean?
I just think because if you look at the play that he got hurt on, right? He popped up, he walked off the field, right? It wasn't gingerly or anything, but he got smacked in the kneecap. Like, it was right helmet, shoulder pad on kneecap.
It was nasty, yeah.
And it was like, ugh, like, wish that wouldn't have happened, right? Like, and it's almost like you put your guy in a position because he wasn't out there catching passes. Like, it wasn't like he was out there catching passes, running routes. He's out there strictly for special teams, and I'm not crapping on Mike Vrabel. I think he's a hell of a head coach, right? That decision right there was like a hindsight is 2020. Probably won't trot him out there if you know the possibility of that happening.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, though, that's one thing that you can never tell. I think I can't remember who it was, but I mean, Max knows I'm a Bama fan, so I'm gonna relate everything back to Nick Saban, the GOAT, Max. But somebody got hurt. Somebody tore an ACL in the fourth quarter of a blowout game. He shouldn't have been playing. And it was like, why was he out there? And Saban's answer was like, do you think if I would have known he was going to get hurt, that I would have had him out there? He was supposed to come out like the next play. That was supposed to be his last play, and he tore an ACL out for the season. And Saban was like, well, bro, I didn't know. Like, I mean, like, like this is football. I mean, stuff happens. So it's kind of like that, I think. And with
Hey, Mike, they gotta catch me first. That was my job for the first 2 years in college was punt return, kick return. They gotta catch me first. Believe me, I still got some spring in these legs. I might be able to go out there and give us at least a couple returns.
Can you give us some, man?
Hey, give me catch the ball, man.
Give me 6 weeks. Give me 6 weeks to drop about 15 pounds and in shape. We might be able to talk.
So big news in the Titans facility. Unfortunately, again, is negative. I hate it. Can we not play a preseason game without having a wide receiver hurt? Kyle Phillips, MCL.
4 to 6 weeks. Yep.
Yeah. So that stinks. And it goes against, like you were saying, dark mark against, Avery, dark mark against Kyle Phillips there. Man. Actually, too.
I don't think this one is so much of a dark mark against him. And the reason I say that is because that play is a freak play, right?
Yeah.
A guy, and I can say as a guy who I caught punts and kicks, right? Punts are some of the scariest things because your eyes are up here. Your eyes are not here. And when your eyes are here and not up there, you drop the ball, right? So you catch a ball, you have to be able to catch and locate where your blocks are. But when a guy's diving at your knees and he's right there, there's nothing you could have done about that. And Kyle couldn't do anything. Right, he got hit. He hung onto the ball. He smacked him on the knee. Right, thank God it didn't tear. Right, that would have sucked. But you only lose one for 4 to 6 weeks. We still got Reggie Roberson. You still got Chris Moore. This is where next week is going to be a make or break week for some guys at the wide receiver position. It's going to be a make or break week. But also, I'll put out an article if you guys want to check it out on 3-point conversion about where the Titans can look. I said it originally to replace Treylon Burks, right, for 2 weeks. But this could be an opportunity because there are some big name free agents out there, and we might get to that later in the show.
All right. I'm sorry. Did you have anything to add to that, Tyler?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
Tyler's
like that.
Tyler's like, hands like Birdman.
I'll give you my piece on the wide receiver situation, man. We're going to have to. If they can't get healthy, hopefully they get healthy by week 2 or 3 and we're good. I'm not really worried about a week 1 game as much, but if they can't, we're going to have to
Treylon will be healthy by week 1. I think he'll be healthy by week 1. He looked pretty spry, good spirits walking off the field with, our other two superstars.
I just don't want him to rush it.
No, I don't think so. Like if he was walking gingerly, right?
I know
onto the field and then walking off, but he was in very good. Like I don't know if you guys watched the video, but he looked like nothing.
Like he
happened.
was joking and
I'm like that doesn't look like a guy who's like I don't know if I'm going to play, right? So
I'm thankful that we have Chris Moore and he's balling on a level that we did not know about. So hopefully he steps into that role that
he's been open on some 20+ yard bombs lately. So I'm liking what I see from him.
Yeah. Just hold on to the ball when you get hit good, man.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry,
that drop he had was on him and uncharacteristically, right? Miley. Chig had a drop that was like,
oh yeah.
What are you guys doing? Like
yeah, when I saw that, I was like, was that? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was watching on a tiny screen. My internet went out. If y'all don't notice, there's a truck behind me. I'm not in my normal, Titans box. And that's because my internet went out.
I think Malik put some mustard on that ball. It was also a little behind Chig.
I give you that.
So I put it this way. When you haven't played with a guy, he's not the guy you built your rapport with, that ball comes a little different. Ryan is when Tannehill's out there, regardless of what you like about him, don't like about him, whether you care if he's going to be the quarterback next year or this year or not, right? He's the quarterback. He's been the quarterback for the last 5 seasons, and he's the guy he knows where these guys like the ball, right? My quarterback when I was in college knew, hey, I like the ball out front, put it out front in front of me and let me run to it, right? I knew where the ball was going to be. When I played with the backup,
different
right? Like it was behind me or on the numbers, and now I'm having to kind of slow my stride down to try to adjust to a ball.
Yeah.
So I don't think Chig was expecting that ball to be, first of all, that hard because Malik put some muscle. I mean, he hummed it, right? Yeah. I don't think he was expecting it to be that hard, and I also don't think he was expecting it to be high in a way. You can kind of tell he probably likes that ball to be probably on the numbers so that he can catch it and turn it upfield.
Yep. Yeah. On Ryan Tannehill, by the way, you don't pay a quarterback $36 million to sit on the bench. You don't. So he's anybody who's conspiring to have Ryan Tannehill as the backup. You don't pay a man that much money for him to sit on the bench, and you're not going to trade him for $36 million. It's not going to happen. So,
Mike, and I agree. I agree. That's why I was like, it's an egregious drop. But at the same time, I understand the drops because as an offense, I play only offense. I never played defense. Hands was way too soft to play defense. But I played all offense, so I understand how the changing quarterbacks can differ on a guy, like simple stuff like a catch, stuff that's kind of routine that you're a wide receiver, you get paid the big money. A guy like DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to catch whatever you throw at him, right? No matter how he likes the ball, he's going to catch it. But Chig Okonkwo was at the point in his career, he's still young, second year in the league. He's used to Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball. Now, next year, when he's getting first-team snaps with Will Levis or Malik Willis on a pretty even basis, then we can, if he has a drop like that, then we can kind of lay into it.
Yeah, it's just like with any other sport or martial arts or anything else, man. You do things repetitiously to build muscle memory. Right. And when you do something with somebody else so many times, and you try it with somebody else, like you said, the timing's just not right, or I mean, it's the same with.
And Mike, I ain't trying to put it on Malik. I'm like I said, I think it's a natural football thing, and I hate that people are trying to put that on Malik. That's not Malik's fault. The quarterback's job is to deliver the ball to the receiver, and his faith is that you're going to catch it, right? But receivers, we are creatures of habit, and I say we because that's what I am through and through. We are creatures of habit. If I know that ball is going to be outside, right, like out, up and away, I know my hands are already out here, right? But if I'm used to having the ball here in my chest and the ball is up and away, it's almost an unnatural thing, like you said, muscle memory. So a drop is bound to happen. But again, like I don't think it's on Malik. I also don't think it's on Chig. I think both of them did their jobs, right, or tried to do their jobs. One guy just didn't do what you thought he should have done, which is catch the ball.
Agreed, man. That's right on, man. So real quick, I just want to dust over this because it happened today, and it's not about the Titans, but it is about the AFC South. So what's up, Pat? But Jonathan Taylor got permission from the Colts to have a trade, which basically means that Jonathan Taylor's probably going to be traded.
Yeah, I was going to say that we don't have two of the best running backs in the game of football in our division anymore. We're just going to have the best in our division. Great.
That's right. Makes it pretty easy to say who's the best.
Well, I also saw where they were looking for a first-round pick or the equivalent out of a group of draft picks. So there's a good possibility he's not getting traded because who on earth is giving up a first-rounder for a running back?
I can tell you somebody.
Please do.
Buffalo Bills. Because they here's the thing, right? And I know this is Titans fan battle, not Buffalo Bills fan battle. But Jonathan Taylor, right? And I said this before. I think the Bills their window is about to close, right? They're on the cusp of a window closing, right? Stephon Diggs says Stephen A. broke, right? He wants out of Buffalo, which I'm putting as much faith in that as I put in, it's snowing tomorrow. But if there's any merit to that, then that window is definitely on the way being shut. Getting a Jonathan Taylor in that backfield, which I've always said, I think Josh Allen is just missing a running back. I think he's just missing a run game behind him. And the Bills probably run away with that division, literally and figuratively, right? If they get a running back of Jonathan Taylor's caliber. If they get that, then yes, the scales tip, right? Because everyone's thinking the Jets are going to win that division, but it goes back in the Bills' favor. I think they can give up a first-round draft pick. I don't think McDermott values first-round draft picks as much as, say, another team because he has so much talent on that roster. But I can see the Bills. I don't think there's any other team in the NFL that really needs a running back like that, right? Like everything else is kind of running back by committee. Like Kansas City did it last year, won a Super Bowl with running back by committee. Philly's been doing it the last 4 or 5 years, running back by committee, right? They've had like 2 or 3, 4 running backs they tried out there and they do it with. I think, Carolina, you could argue they need a running back, but who knows, right? They got Chuba Hubbard and company, and they're still trying to build a roster, so a first-round draft pick isn't happening for them. But, I mean, like I said, there's a handful of teams that, like, draft capital may not mean much to them, right? They could release a first-round draft pick, and it doesn't hurt them. I just hope he doesn't get traded in the division. That would suck.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but I just don't. There is no world, I don't care Derrick Henry or not, that I give up a first-round pick for a running back. There's no way I would. I mean, I would be hard-pressed to give up a first-round pick for anybody.
And Tyler, you're part of the problem. Pay these running backs.
No, I agree. Pay the running backs up to a certain amount, and then if they want too much, trade them and running back by committee. Unless you're Derrick Henry. Keep Derrick Henry forever, Titans. Don't ever trade him. Don't let him go. That's my guy.
Yeah, I don't want to see El Tractorcito in a different uniform.
Yeah, no, me either, man.
No, that would hurt.
Retire a Titan, man.
Yes.
Him and Kevin Byard need to retire Titans. Yeah. I don't care what we got to do. I don't care if we got to sign them to like a pay-as-you-go contract or whatever. Like those two guys cannot go anywhere else.
Agreed. All right, so to our fan segment. Going to be kind of a quick one because we got to wrap it up pretty soon. But I post out, always throw me a question. And my man Scoob, who was on, I think it was 4th or 5th podcast with the mask and everything, kind of going for him to be a super fan. Trying to help him out, support my boy. But he had 2 good questions for me. He said, should the first string players play the first quarter Friday night against Patriots?
Series.
That's kind of what I say. 1 to 2 series, let them go. I don't think the whole first quarter is necessary, but I'm a firm believer. I've been saying it all preseason. Knock the dust off, especially for like people like Harold Landry, who hasn't really seen any live action other than the practice with the Vikings.
I think you go 1 series. If we score, right, if we're threatening, right, if they're marching, you let them go ahead and finish it out. If it's 3 and out, it's 3 and out. Hey, good job, guys. Take a load off, right? Go put baseball caps and T-shirts. Defense, right, maybe 1 or 2 because some of those guys have already been playing. So I think maybe 1 or 2 series is good for them. Definitely, like you said, Harold Landry, who hasn't played since last year. Christian Fulton hasn't played in the preseason yet. Sean Murphy-Bunting hasn't played in the preseason yet. Like the guys that are going to be the starters, right, that are going to be the actual show enough guys, give them a series or 2 of plays, right? If they 3 and out, done. Ball caps and T-shirts again, right? But if they give up a touchdown, right, trot them back out there, let them try, go give another go, and then sit them for the rest of the night. because you got guys that you're going to want to now evaluate, like Eric Garrard and those guys.
Exactly.
I think we see the defense, like we've said all preseason. I know I said it last week. I was hoping to see some of the guys, some of the starters play, but guys like Kevin Byard, Jeff Simmons, Derrick Henry, even Tannehill, like we know what these guys are going to do in the regular season, man. So I don't need to see them too much. And we're going to the game, so I would love for them to play at least a series or two just to see them. But we know what the guys are going to do. We know what they're capable of. We've seen them do it year in and year out now. So for them to play, they're veterans. They know what they're doing. They know how to hit it hard whenever the season starts. So I doubt we see them very much. I'm thinking more along the lines of what we've been seeing. Some of the starters playing, the O-line playing, probably more than likely the whole first quarter of this game, I would think.
I can see the first half for the starting O-line. I can see the first half.
So we're going to see – I think we're going to see a good bit of those and even the tight ends and wide receivers. We're not going to see D-Hop much. D-Hop's a future Hall of Famer more than likely. We don't need to see him in the preseason. So get these guys, especially our receivers, man. Let me see some backup receivers. I don't care who's throwing them the ball. I'm not trying to see another starting receiver out there during the preseason. It's been horrible. So
I'm hoping that Kiaris can go.
Me too.
On Friday, because he also had, like I said, the knee injury. Hopefully he can go, because that's a guy that I think can make this team. Like honestly,
he's a bubble guy.
Yeah.
If not, definitely a practice squad guy. I would love to keep him on the practice squad.
By the way, shameless promotion. If you haven't seen this show with Mike Patton and Steve Weiss, you need to go check that out. Find him on Twitter. Find Mike Patton on Twitter and go watch that show.
Torn the AFC South on all your streaming apps.
There you go. And great show. Talks a lot about the O-line. Malik, he answers a lot of good questions on that one. The other question from Scoob was, should the Titans move on from Hassan Haskins with the emergence of Spears and Chestnut?
I think that was kind of the plan anyway, right? You drafted Hassan Haskins. He was supposed to come in. He was heralded as the guy who could be the Derrick Henry antithesis, right? You let Deontay Foreman walk because you drafted that guy. He just hasn't panned out. So yes, Tyjae Spears was going to be running back 2, like I said at the beginning of the show. RB2 is number 32. Yep. That was the from the get-go, right? I think some of the questions were, we need to see what happens with the knees. He's looked great. If the guy doesn't have an ACL, that means he doesn't have an ACL to tear.
Yeah.
So he can make all the cuts and all, and he took his thing. He took hits low. He got hit low. He got hit high, right? He made guys miss. He hit 20 points, 20.3, 20.4 like miles per hour on 2 bad knees. I'll take it. Right, anytime, any day of the week. And then you got, like you said, Julius Chestnut. I think he's your RB3. And I think the Titans and this coaching staff like him more than they like Hassan Haskins. But Hassan Haskins has got to go.
This is, if you think about it, this is actually round 3 for trying to find a Derrick Henry backup, or the lightning to the thunder, as you call it. We had Darrington Evans gone, Hassan Haskins about to be gone, and then now we have Tyjae, and Tyjae looks to be what we've been trying to find in the other 2 guys. So, and Chestnut too. Chestnut looks better than both of those guys. And the fact that we have them both behind him, and like I said, if Hassan stays around, he's more than likely strictly a special teams guy, because I think he was like top 10, top 15 last year in special teams tackles. So just for that purpose, maybe. But like we said earlier, 53-man roster, you don't have much room for special teams specialists. So I don't care, to be honest. Like I don't really. Like I said last year and all this preseason and training camp, he looks slow. He doesn't look like he's an NFL running back. So maybe try the XFL and see if that pans out, and we might see you in a Jags uniform in 3 years when they suck again.
Jesus Christ.
I'll say this. We're not going to have enough time to get to my roster predictions, unfortunately, but a lot of things that I look for when I do these roster predictions is the waiver wire. How tempting are the guys on the waiver wire? And Hassan Haskins isn't bringing like any big flashy, I doubt if he gets picked up on the waiver wire, to be honest. I mean, maybe on a practice squad for, somebody somewhere, but I'm just being honest. You know,
I mean, he could find himself on the Carolina Panthers practice.
I was literally thinking the Panthers. It's wild that you said that because that's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe somebody like Carolina who needs one more big first round pick. So maybe
I could see him there. I tell you what, though, I saw some news today, right? I know this is not a roster predictions, right? But the New York Jets, right? Corey Davis could be on the bubble of getting cut because of just the depth that they have up there and the wealth of talent they have at the receiver position. I did post on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen it. That it could be a possible reunion, right? He was one of the guys that I thought was going to get cut when they signed all of those guys in the first place. Like, I thought he was gone. They ended up bringing him back. I think if he gets cut, Tennessee should look into bringing CD84 back. And the reason is because even if you don't like him as an outside receiver, right, or as a receiver, period, if you stick, he's better than NWI, and he's better than any other option. He's better than any other option you have, right? Don't knock to Chris Moore or Kyle Phillips or any of those guys, but he's just better, right? If you stick him outside, D-Hop outside, right, 10 and 84, and then you stick Traylon Burks, which he ran a lot of slot routes at Arkansas. If you watch number 16 in Arkansas, right, he ran a lot of screens, a lot of quick outs that he turned into 60-yard, 65-yard, 70-yard scampers.
That's where AJ used to do a lot of damage.
Right. It could be an option, right? And it also makes his offense a lot more dangerous. Mike says he's not sure he's coming back. I didn't think so at the first, though. I mean, he could. This is not saying he is or whatever, but I think it should be something that they look into if he does get cut.
I could see us looking into him, but man, I don't know.
I liked him when he was here. I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want him to leave the first time. I thought we should have paid him what he was looking for, but because I felt like having him and AJ at the same time was something on the horizon, and it sucks that both of those guys that we spent a first and second round pick on, a top 5 pick, right, and a second round pick on are both on other teams now that both were green, unfortunately.
I'll put it like this. I've never wished failure on a Titans player ever. I hope every Titans player succeeds. However, when we picked him with a top 5, I think it was, what was it, number 5 or number 6?
Number 5. He was top 5.
When we picked him, I threw the remote at the wall because I was like, bro, who is this guy? And I mean, a top 5 pick, when I see top 5, I'm expecting a superstars caliber player, and he was never that. So that's kind of, he never panned out.
He had the potential though, and that was the crazy thing about it.
But we just, it was just kind of a frustrating moment, and it kind of put a damper on him in a Titans uniform for me. However,
I can't remember who were the wide receivers in that draft day. I know John Ross is one of them.
I think Jalen Ramsey, the cornerback, was. I think he was picked like 8th. Was that the same draft?
Yeah, I think that was the same draft. I'm gonna check it. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead.
Titans stuff at the draft, and we didn't draft him, and then it's Jalen Ramsey, and we passed on him to get Corey Davis. So that's why I've always had a little bit of a disdain for Corey Davis. However, if we could get him back and he shows out, does anything good, 800-yard receiver for the Titans, then I'll be happy now because we have D-Hop and Burks. So we'll see.
I was going to say, man, if you look back on his years with us, he was trending upward the entire time. Every year he had more and more yards. He was more and more productive. With the emergence of A.J. Brown, obviously, he started to break out. And I think, with D-Hop here, I don't think that's a bad pickup at all. I think that's a good pickup. However, I'm not sure how he would feel about coming back to Tennessee. I don't think he did very well.
So, Max and Tyler, are you guys ready to be really upset? So here are the wide receivers that were picked after Corey Davis. The Chargers picked up Mike Williams out of Clemson. Cincinnati picked John Ross, but that guy he never panned out.
I was gonna say it's all right.
But then after those guys, Zay Jones, picked by Buffalo, he's now in Kansas. He's now in Jacksonville. Curtis Samuel was picked by the Panthers. He's been on and off the injury. But Juju Smith-Schuster picked by Pittsburgh. Cooper Kupp picked by Los Angeles. And then the next receiver taken off the board was Taywan Taylor, who's no longer in the league. And then Chris Godwin was taken by the Buccaneers.
And we used first-round picks on Corey Davis and Adoree Jackson.
Yep, Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay was picked in that draft by the Detroit Lions. We ended up getting Jonnu Smith in that one. But the next guy that
please stop reminding me of our bad picks.
No other receiver out of that class outside of in the 5th round, George Kittle was picked. So yeah,
man.
Yeah. With the 5th pick, and then we had a guy who's won a Triple Crown in the Super Bowl, and a guy Mike Williams who's now one of the up and coming superstars in the league after Corey Davis. So
yeah. So, and no telling how many other Pro Bowl caliber players that were picked in that draft after Corey Davis. And just an upsetting draft. We haven't had a really good draft since we've had one in the past 10 years that was just really good. And
why you do that to me, Courtland?
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I had to go look that up because I was like, who were the guys that got picked in that draft? Because we also ended up picking Adoree Jackson in that draft.
Yeah.
Dude, you can do that with every year with us, though.
And then Tre'Davious White was picked I think a couple of picks before that. That draft was crazy. How good this draft was. Marshawn Lattimore was picked number 11. That's who I thought we were going to pick, though. I thought because he wanted to come here.
Yeah,
he wanted to come to Tennessee.
Well.
He was Tennessee. He was a Titans guy, right? And then Corey Davis. I was like, what? I was like, we could have waited until pick number 26 where we picked Adoree Jackson to get a receiver because all of these guys were really good. So,
when we picked Adoree, all I could picture was Bama torching him in that 52-3 game where they came out with the dog run out or whatever, where they were all on the ground and then got blew out 52-3 and Adoree looked horrible.
He had the amazing comeback against Penn State that year. USC that year, and I mean he was. I liked him, right? I thought he was going to be really good, and he just couldn't stay healthy. That was the only thing about him.
Well, unfortunately,
I'm sorry to crush you guys.
No, it's all right, man. It's all right, but unfortunately, we're going to end on that note.
Gotcha.
I hate to end on that note. Yeah, and I hate to end the show, period. I feel like we're on a roll here, and I always hate to do that, but, my hourly constraints.
Yeah,
so, everybody, Courtland, tell everybody where they can find you at, brother.
Yep, well, you guys see the hat. It's the only hat of its kind. You can find me on the halftime show. We will be doing a special edition WNBA for all of you guys that do follow WNBA. This Wednesday, we'll be talking about expansion of the league. And what that could look like. And then on Thursday, we're right back to the regular scheduled program on a regular edition of the halftime show. I will be talking top 10 at every position in the NFL, taking you through the NFL, top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive lines, the whole 9 yards. So it'll be about an hour and a half of just top 10. So tune into that. You can find me on Twitter at DC Griffey, and then also on Instagram at DC Griffey. I'm now verified. I have a blue check, so it's not hard to find me, right? I'm the only Courtland LM Griffin with a blue check, so that's amazing. And then you can find me in the comment section of the Titans Fan Battle Podcast because I like it here. So
right on, man. We always love to. I love to see you when I see you pop up in the comments. I'm like, yeah, my boy's here. and Tyler,
hopefully I'll be at the game on Friday.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Well, we'll talk about that after this. Anyway, go ahead. Tell them where they can find you at, Tyler.
At Titan_always22. The Ryan Stonehouse Stan account. Show love to the specialist, baby. Titans, get us a kicker. These guys are not it. I'm showing love, but Jesus Christ, it's hard to show love to these kickers. Titans Fan Battle Podcast everywhere, every social media platform. You can find us. Come to us. Tell us how bad we suck. Whatever you want to do, come talk crap to us. Just come engage with us, man. Come find us. We're trying to put content up all the time. Find us at the game Friday. A good note to end on right here, Max. I'm not sure what section we're sitting in. Please let them know. But come find us. Talk to us, man. We'll be there.
Yeah, man. And as always, you can find me. I am Maximus _Titan fan. And that's pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. No, actually, YouTube's Titan Fan Battle Podcast now. But yes, please go on YouTube, please. That's where we want everybody to watch our show. It's the best place to watch our show. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching, please. And thank you. And we are I know we're sitting in row M, but I'm not sure what section we're sitting in. So might have to do like we're sitting in the end zone. I know that. But anyway, that's our show for this week. We'll see you guys. I think on Wednesday we're doing our pregame show for the Patriots' last preseason game, and then it's football season, fellas. So thank you, everybody, and good night. Have a good night. God bless.
Tighten up, y'all.